Good day, everybody. Today we are going to talk about confidence interval for the population mean. The following are the sodium content in milligram of sample of hot dogs: 420, 470, 350, 360, 270, 550, and 530. Can we assume that this sample came from an approximately normal population? So let's do part A. Construct a modified box plot. Using TI-84. How to do that? So the first thing we will do is we will press the second button, then the plus button, which is on the top of enter button on the bottom right corner of the calculator keys. Second button, then plus button, then select number 4, which will put clear all list on your calculator screen. You hit enter and then you will get the message done. This is the step to clear the memories, of the calculator, memories of TI-84. So let's do that. So second button, then plus button on top of enter, then number 4, clear all list on the calculator screen, hit enter, done. What is the next step? So let me reduce this further and we will move this a little bit up. Okay, so the next step is press start button, then number 1, which is edit this, and then enter data in L1 of the calculator, list 1 of the calculator. Okay, so start button, then number 1, which is edit, enter the data in L1, 420, enter, 470, enter, 350, enter, 360, enter, 270, enter, 550, enter, and then 530, enter. So now I want to make a modified box plot with this data. So what will I do? I will press the second button after entering data in L1. Okay, press second button and then Y equal to key on top of it. Second button and then Y equal to key on top of it. Then we work with number 1. Select number 1, which is basically plot 1. Okay, so select number 1, plot 1. So if I create some more space, okay, and then the first line should be on button. Make sure the cursor is on and flashing. And the second line, which is type, go to 1, 2, 3, and the 4th type of chart. Put the cursor there. Fourth type of chart. This is the modified box plot. Why modified? Because I want to see if there is any outlier or not. So put the cursor on 4 in the second line and hit enter. Next step is press the zoom button and then number 9. Zoom is the third key on the top row, zoom button and then number 9. And you see a box plot like this. Although the data is a little bit skewed, maybe, but it definitely does not show any outliers. So the box plot looks like this. One might argue that, so this is Q1, this is Q2, this is Q3, this is the minimum, and this is the maximum. Okay. One might argue that the distance from Q2 to the max is slightly higher than from Q2 to minimum, and they're about the same. Definitely there is no outlier on the right. If there is any outlier, it would have been seen by it would have been shown by an empty square, which is not present here. Similarly, there is no outlier which is shown by a square box on the left. Okay, so if I create some space, we can write, since there is no outlier, since there is no outlier, it can be assumed that the sample came from an approximate normal distribution, came from a, let's correct it, came from a population which is, came from a population which is bell-shaped, population which is approximately bell-shaped or normal, which is approximately normal. Okay. Now we are required to construct a 95% confidence interval, right? Let me check on that. So first we prove that the sample came from the population which is approximately normal population. Then we are required to calculate what is the point estimate for population mean. So this is all for, if I write this, this is all for part A. Part B. So if I move up a little bit, part B. Part B is point estimate for the population mean. Point estimate for the population mean, which is population mean, which is X bar or sample mean. So we have already entered the data in L1. So now we will press Stat button, then highlight Calc on the top row, that is move the cursor on Calc, and then select number 1, which is one variable stats. Okay, so Stat button, highlight Calc on the top row, then select number 1, first line. So, okay, first line is list. This should be L1 because we have entered the data in L1. Next line is frequency list. Keep it empty. So if there is something on the right of the colon, clear it by hitting the clear button in the third row. And then we go directly to calculate. And hit enter, okay? So the sample mean, which is a point estimate for the population mean, is 421.43. This is the point estimate for the population mean. Okay. Now we are going to part C. So I'll move up a little bit and see what is part C. Construct a 95% confidence interval for the population mean. So let's do part C. Part C. Okay. Here we will be using, since sigma population standard deviation is not known. Standard deviation is not known. Deviation is not known. Is not known. And sample size and n is less than 30. Use t interval. T interval. Okay, so how will we do it? Let me move this up a little bit. Okay, so we are ready to calculate 95% confidence interval for the population mean. Confidence interval for the population mean. For the population mean. Okay, so we will start with stat button. Then highlight test on the top row, that is move the cursor on test. Stat button, highlight test on the top row. Then we will scroll down T interval. The reason we are using T interval, since we do not know the population standard deviation and the sample size is less than 30. T interval is option number 8. So go down to T interval and hit enter. Okay, so if I create some more space. Okay, input should be on data since we have entered the data in L1. So put the cursor on data in the input line and hit enter. So that is flashing on data. List is automatically selected at L1, which is just fine. Frequency is 1. Do not change it. Sea level is 0.95. 95% confidence interval. And then we will go down to calculate, put the cursor on calculate and hit enter. Okay. And the 95% confidence interval for the mean is 327. 327.05 is the lower boundary and the upper boundary is 515.81. What does it mean? With 95% confidence, we can state that the actual population mean will fall between 327.05 and is 2 and 515.81. So again, the 95% confidence is our confidence in the method that we have used to determine this interval. Okay, so let's move up and see what they say in part D. Part D, what is the minimum sample size necessary to estimate the 95% confidence interval if we want the sample mean within 0.01 of the actual mean? Okay. So part D, minimum sample size necessary. Sample size necessary. Okay. For 95% confidence with a margin of error. With a margin of error of 0.01 is equal to 0.01. Okay, so if I move up a little bit, that formula is n equal to 1.96 times sigma divided by the margin of error square. Okay, now sigma is the population standard deviation. Standard deviation. Assume S sample standard deviation is a point estimate for sigma. So sigma is equal to almost equal to S, almost equal to sample standard deviation is 102.05. Okay. So with this information, we will plug. Also remember, if I create a little bit more space, our margin of error is given as 0.01. So n is equal to 1.96 multiplied by sigma is 102.05 divided by margin of error 0.01 square, and we round it up. So n is equal to, we will do the calculations in the way we wrote left parenthesis. In the left parenthesis, we write 1.96 times the standard deviation, which is 102.05 divided by margin of error, which is 0.01, right parenthesis, then do not forget to square it by pressing the X square button, and then we will round up the This is a huge sample size. Maybe we should change the margin of error because of its 0.01. So I will change the problem statement. Let's make it 0.05. So, okay. So let's make this 0.05. So left parenthesis 1.96 multiplied with standard deviation of 102.05 divided by 0.05, right parenthesis, then X square. And still the sample size is pretty large, but at least looks Ooh. And it is 16 million 002,881. Okay. And that again is because the standard deviation is very high, is 102.05. So if this we can reduce the standard deviation, then we'll be better off. Then the sample size will be reasonable. So let me make sure to change the margin of error to 0.05. Okay. And if I move up, I will change the problem statement. Oops. First, I have to erase it. So, and erase it, and this will be 0.05 of that. So margin of error, I change it to 0.05. Even though then our sample size is too large, and the only reason is the population standard deviation, which we estimated from the sample standard deviation is too high. Okay, so I will stop here today. If you have any question, comment, please do not forget to write me a note. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. If you like this video, share with your friends. You and your friends can subscribe to my channel by hitting the red subscribe button at the bottom right corner. I have solved all kinds of math problems in stats, in algebra, calculus just for you so that you become the best in math. So please come back next time when I will be solving another problem, another solution. Okay, so do not miss me the next time. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. See you next time. Take care.